Hello, my name is Dan Dodds. I'm the principal attorney at the Dodds Law Firm in Surprise, Arizona. Today I want to talk about life estates. And people will scratch their head and go, well, what in the world is a life estate? It's a vehicle that you can use in your estate plan that allows someone to possess or occupy something for an extended period of time, but ultimately it reverts back to another beneficiary. So let me give you an example, and I think that will become more clear for you. So again, let's just talk quickly. A life estate is a gift you leave a person to possess or use during their lifetime, but when they die, it reverts to other beneficiaries. So, where do I see this happen most of the time? Well, second marriages, particularly in our senior community where they, both maybe have lost their spouses, they have children that are adults, they will meet each other, they want to marry, but the home belongs to the husband, or the husband moves into the wife's home and she owns the home, and his name isn't on the deed. And most of these second marriages philosophically look kind of like this: whatever I had remains my property when we married, and I want it to go to my children. Whatever property you had when we married remains your property, and it goes to the wife's children. So using that example, let's talk about a marriage to elder senior people. That's what they want. So we get a prenup, and let me use myself as an example. I'm married, but let's say that for some reason I wasn't. Could I marry another woman? Yes. What happens if I die prematurely? Well, would I want her kicked out of the house and she's 82 years old? No, probably not. Well, I would create a life estate. So let me explain how that works using the home example. I could name all my beneficiaries. I want them to take this much money. I want this one to get this much money. I want this one to have my furniture. I want this one to have my fishing gear. I want this one to have my tools, my pickup, my travel trailer, whatever I have, I would give that to my children. But I don't want my current wife to be kicked out in the street. So I would leave her a life estate. And what I would essentially say in my estate plan is that my current wife, I'm going to give a life estate. That's the gift I'm giving her. Her legal right to continue to live in my home until she dies or abandons it. In other words, moves out. Then it would revert to some other beneficiary. It means then that it could be one of my children. I could leave it to the church. I could do whatever I wanted to do with it. But what I'm essentially giving my current wife that I've married after a number of years, I'm giving her the gift of staying in my home while she's 82 years old and not having to worry about moving or going somewhere else or being out on the street. And there's other issues of that, and that's why you want to have an attorney help you with it to protect both parties' interests. But that's a life estate. Well, can it be something other than a home? Well, yeah. Let me give you an example of that. One of my most cherished possessions is my great-grandparents' pump organ. It runs on your pumping air into these reeds, and they can play. It came from Pennsylvania on a covered wagon train to Vernal, Utah. And my great-grandmother used to give organ lessons to the children in that little small home over her lifetime. And it's been passed down to Dodd's children, and now I'm in possession of it. It means the world to me. It might not be worth a lot of money, but $1 million wouldn't buy it from me either. So, what am I going to do with it? Well, I inherited it. Even though I'm married, I inherited it. So, unless I intend to make it community property, it's my separate property because I inherited it. Now, I have discussed this with my wife. I'm not silly, and she's in complete concurrence. But even if she wasn't, I could still do with it what I want. So here's what I've decided, and we have decided, is going to happen to that organ. My great-grandparents were one of the 5 founding families that settled in Vernal, Utah. They have a museum, and that museum has much of the rich history of the settlement of Vernal, Utah. It's just an old organ, and I could leave it to my children, but I don't think they would appreciate it as much as maybe I did. But what I'm going to do with it is I'm giving it as a life estate to the museum. So as long as that museum exists and takes care of it and protects it, they can have access to it and maintain it. Why am I not just giving it to the museum? Because if something would come and that museum would cease to exist, I don't want it to be sold at a garage sale. I would want it to come back to one of my children or my grandchildren. So you can do things like that where someone else gets immediate possession and they can use it as long as they take care of it through their lifetime, or the lifetime of this museum as an example, and yet but they don't own it. They just get to use it. So that's what a life estate is that you're giving someone a gift for the extent of their life or until they decide to abandon it. Hope that information's helpful to you, and if you need some help setting up a life estate in your estate plan, we would love to help you do that. Have a good day.